I started back in 2011. I read this book called The Golfing Machine that my coach, Mike Shy, had thrown at me. And he said, hey, if you want to get better at golf, if you want to learn the golf swing for yourself, read this book. And so I read this book, and through this process, this journey of learning different ins and outs of that book, I came across this motion called the zero shifting motion. It's in chapter 10, section 7, is component 7, and it was the first variation A, and it was called zero shifting. And what that pretty much means is I'm on a single plane. It's called the zero shifting motion for that reason. There's no shift in the plane. So I essentially started to swing on one plane. And when I did that with a wedge, and then I did it with a 3-iron. And I soon realized that that wasn't going to work because I was having to change my body posture based upon those angles. And it didn't make sense. I said, there's no way I can do this. And I kept thinking to myself, well, this has to be the way. There has to be a way to do it. And I said to myself, well, why don't we make them all the same length? Let's try that. I asked that to my coach, Mike Shy, and he said, that's an easy question to ask. That's a very difficult one to answer. And so that started us on this journey of trying to use this single length set. And we took an old Nike, it was originally a Henry Griffith set that was all mangled and mashed up and didn't have the head weights all right, but it was really close. And we said, all right, let's take heads and make them exactly the way we want, and then we can build it from there. Because essentially all the head weights have to be the same head weight. They all have to be 278 grams, which is pretty much a 7-iron head for me. So we did that. We got the pitching wedge ground down to 278. We got the 3-iron lead taped up to 278. Made everything the same length. And we said, all right. And it took us about 2 weeks to do it. Went to this old golf shop, Roger Dunn's, but went to the golf course after we built them. Went on the first hole, had an 8-iron in, 160 yards out. Said, it's going to be relatively close to 7-iron. Shouldn't affect it too much. Hit it. Didn't go 170 yards and went 160. I went, okay, there's some progress there. Let's go to the next hole. So I went to the next hole and had 210 yards in. Never forget this. I pulled out a 5-iron. I said, this is the moment of truth. Went and struck it, and it seemed like eternity that golf ball was in the air. And I'm like, wow, that's not going 170 yards. It's definitely going further than that. And sure enough, it landed right next to the hole and rolled out a little bit. But I said to Mike, I said, this could potentially change the game. That's based on my own body mechanics, and I wouldn't allow others to do it because for you it's different. Your body is different than my body, so it may not be efficient for you to swing on my plane or my swing, or have my swing. You know, I'm not able to swing like Ben Hogan. I mean, I can try, but it's not as efficient as the motion that I have for myself. So it's all individualized, but the single length idea works for anybody across the board. You don't have to have my single plane motion. You can swing any way you want. The idea stands alone in itself, and it works very well, especially for beginners. What most people don't understand about the book is that they think it's this one way, it's a method, and it's not. It's actually a system. It describes any motion among any plane out there. I can literally go to everybody's golf swing on the driving range and say, hey, look, and describe their exact motion through that book. It's not a method, it's a system. And that's the beauty of it. And people didn't get into that. They just saw one little aspect of the book and took it and said, this is the way to do it. You know, you have the Ben Doyleites who swung like Bobby Clampett, you know, who had a lot of lag and stuff like that. And that's the only way he taught, which is unfortunate because that book was written to encompass everybody in the game of golf. And I wish that I could bring that more to light, and I will eventually, along with Mike Shy, my coach, and a few others. But coming back down to it, it comes down to your body type and what you can do, and that's what the book really is about. So it's going to stand the test of time. It's not going to waver. It can't. It's just what it is. You know, it's like giving us a physics book. It is what it is, right? There's laws that govern all the ways of nature. So it's going to stand the test of time. No, it's a system. It's a system, exactly. Well, I've been able to practice two motions. I practice what I call my Fairway Finder driver, and it's swung about 113 miles an hour, and that's similar to everything else that I do in regards to my iron play and even 3-wood play and hybrid play. But then I also have another gear called a crank driver, and I can pretty much increase my mile per hour by 12 to 13 miles per hour if I want to. So it goes probably 20 to 30 yards further, depending on the conditions, obviously. And sometimes it doesn't go even as far as my Fairway Finder, just because of the trajectory and the way the wind's coming into me. So that's just something I've got to decide on the golf course. But usually if it's downwind, it goes a lot further. And I pretty much put it in the fingers of my hands, and I widen my stance, have a lot of weight shift, a lot of lag, makes the club head go a little faster. Puts a little bit more toll on my body, that's when I use it always. But again, it's useful in certain situations. We pretty much, me and David Adele, even with Mike Shy too, we designed a putter that was very geometrically simple and very squared off so that I could see lines very easily. There's nothing on the top of it, it's just a matte black finish. And the reason why we did that is so that it cut out shadows and all weird shapes, because the weird shapes, depending on the angle of the sun and what time of the day it is, and it looks completely different. The putter looks different. And so I said, I don't want that. And we came up with this putter that's geometrically very simple, no lines, no curves, nothing. That's I'm able to use every single day and have it not change. That's why people change putters, because they see it differently, depending on maybe the time of day or something. They go, oh, I don't like this look, and then they want to change. But I've found a putter that's allowed me to perform at my best, and that's something that I don't think will change anytime soon. And that's something in the future that I don't want to focus on, because I'm all about the journey and the process. What's tomorrow going to hold for me? And that's all I'm focused on. Yeah. I'm focused on the next shot at hand. How am I going to get better each and every day? All that other stuff is just pie in the sky, and I can't worry about that. If I try and focus on that, it's taking away time from me getting better right now. And as I get better and better and better, hopefully I'll grow to where something good happens. And that's what happened last year at the NCAAs and the U.S. Amateur. I had no idea I was going to win those two tournaments. But because of my process, because of my journey, how hard I was working each and every day, it came to the fact where I was able to crescendo up to playing my best golf at the right times.